There's a meme on the internet. It's a picture of a skeleton sitting on a park bench or at a PC, sometimes draped over the keyboard, and the punchline is, "I'm waiting for blank." And one of those memes is, "I'm waiting for a narcissist to apologize." By now, you don't need a PhD in psychology to know that one of the defining characteristics of the cluster B disorder psychopathy is that psychopaths cannot feel remorse, which lends itself to the question, are the other cluster B disorders, for example, sociopathy and narcissism, also partly defined by an inability to feel remorse? Do narcissists feel remorse? Which lends itself in turn to the question, if you accept my well-substantiated theory that workplace bullying is a form of narcissistic abuse, so all workplace bullies are narcissists, or at the very least have very narcissistic tendencies, do workplace bullies feel remorse for what they have done, which is to eliminate an innocent person from the workplace by getting that person fired or forcing that person to quit, thereby threatening and endangering that person's life and that person's ability to survive at all, by separating that person from work, employment, and income. Do workplace bullies feel remorse? Let me think about that for a second. No. No, they don't. They not only do not feel bad, they feel great. Their bullying is the highlight of their lives. Their bullying not only makes them feel good, it is the only way that they can feel good, or indeed feel anything at all. Human beings by nature biologically enjoy eliminating, especially physically, because it can make them literally high. For example, going to the bathroom, ejaculating during orgasm, or just doing a good spring cleaning. When workplace bullies physically eliminate the target from the workplace, they feel high, as though they have just taken an excellent shit, or just come during sex, or just gotten rid of all the clutter that they had been hoarding. When the target is finally eliminated from the workplace, it's time for a party. These people high-five one another, cheer, maybe even throw literal parties, or at the very least attend happy hours where they celebrate, and sometimes you can see them collude together on social media, congratulating one another for what they have done. For the rest of their lives, workplace bullies will never feel remorse. Indeed, they may look back on their bullying of the target as one of the best times of their lives and one of their greatest accomplishments. So if you're waiting for a narcissistic workplace bully to apologize, you're going to be waiting for a long time. How do you know workplace bullies never feel sorry for anything they do or say to you? The same way you know about everything they do, say, think, and feel about you. They let you know. One of my theories about workplace bullying is that most often targets of workplace bullying are empaths, or at the very least highly sensitive people. But you really don't need to be Ms. Cleo with a crystal ball to figure this stuff out. If workplace bullies as narcissists who are wearing masks are attempting to conceal and camouflage their true motivations and intents, they are not doing a very good job. Pretty much everything about workplace bullying is weird, but the weirdest thing that I have identified is that after bullying you, workplace bullies will come back with smiles on their faces, as though everything is normal, everything's fine, and expect a close relationship with you, such as a friendship and, yes, even a romantic and even sexual relationship. And that's because this stuff is normal to them. Bullying is deeply integrated into the language of their interpersonal relational style, which makes you wonder just how crap their relationships are, if they actually have any. They do this stuff to everyone, all day, every day, and indeed, the same has probably been done to them. As narcissists who are trapped in this primitive, low-level, 3D, earthly, mundane, physical, material reality of the five senses, without any higher level cognition or spiritual awareness or consciousness, In 30, 40, 60 years on this planet, workplace bullies have never bothered to question the status quo or the existing paradigm, to put away childish things and find a new way of being in the world. If this is their normal, then why would they feel bad about it? Real remorse is a lot more than the narcissistic faux apology which you may get, which runs something along the lines of, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. Real remorse is a deep, empathetic, emotional understanding of exactly how badly you have made the other person feel, combined with, and get this, a promise to change. Another one of my theories about workplace bullying is that it is an addiction. Workplace bullies not only do not change, they just keep doing it. After they eliminate the target from the workplace, it's on to the next victim. Proof that they don't feel remorse and don't see anything wrong with anything that they are doing. But the biggest sign that workplace bullies do not feel remorse is when you run into them outside of the workplace after you have been eliminated. What's the first thing that happens? They smile. They like bullying. They enjoy it. They think it's funny, and they may even think it's a game. And the same goes for bystanders to workplace bullying. People you didn't suspect had a problem with you. When they see you outside of the workplace after you have been eliminated, they too smile, tipping you off to their true feelings about you the whole time. Again, they're just glad that it wasn't them. Part of the definition of psychopathy includes an inability to feel remorse, but the same may not necessarily be true for narcissism. And although workplace bullies are narcissists, or at the very least have very narcissistic tendencies, they may not necessarily be psychopaths or sociopaths, but some of them really are. And you can see how some of these people can kill, and unfortunately may actually have done so. Whether they are psychopaths, sociopaths, or narcissists, it doesn't matter. I argue that they cannot feel remorse because bullies, like narcissists, are insecure, superficial, empty people with no boundaries and no empathy, who are 100% constantly, exclusively focused on other people and what they can steal and take from them to fill the void within. But it's never enough because there is no end to their narcissistic greed and no end to their antagonistic, combative, interpersonal relational style that arises from their demand for attention, validation, and feed of narcissistic supply to their narcissistic ego, all while refusing to let anyone touch the mask, combined with, quite frankly, a rather pitiful and pathetic desire and need for inclusion and connection with others. When it comes to workplace bullies' inability to feel remorse, let's talk about their emptiness. With no real internal life or self, there can be no self-awareness. In addition to the lack of boundaries and the lack of empathy, I include a complete and total lack of self-awareness. Workplace bullies' lack of self-awareness will astonish you. These are people who in decades on their planet will not for one moment of their entire lives ever go within, turn within, do the inner work, confront themselves, meditate, ruminate, reflect, explore, discover, grow, develop, evolve themselves. And that level of insight combined with their lack of empathy means that their awareness does not extend past the tips of their own noses. As always, victims of abuse understand the psychology of abusers better than the abusers understand themselves. How are narcissistic workplace bullies supposed to understand how you feel if they don't know how they feel themselves? Workplace bullies as narcissists also engage in cognitive dissonance. They don't feel bad about what they are doing because they justify it. They don't like to do black and white thinking, but unfortunately on the earth plane there happens to be a lot of duality, and in this life we really have only two choices. We can heal or we can project. I'll let you guess which one narcissistic workplace bullies have chosen. Workplace bullies project everything that they can't heal, which is everything. or just call a spade and call it what it is, which is good old-fashioned hypocrisy. Workplace bullies justify their behavior because you deserve it. Why do you think that they engage in months and even years of stalking, picking at your flaws, grasping for straws, looking for any shred of evidence that you are not perfect? You deserve to be bullied because you are human. And you deserve to be bullied because workplace bullies as narcissists really believe that you are the source and the originator of their original trauma and wounding. These are clearly very damaged people, but the damage was done years before they ever met you and you came onto the scene and came into the picture. But in their sheer and utter literal mindedness and complete and total inability to even think abstractly, here you are standing physically right in front of them, so they're just going to go with that and projectile vomit all of their parental mommy and daddy issues all over you. Again, you deserve to be bullied because you are not only responsible for the bullying, but also you are the bully. At the end of the day, workplace bullies may simply justify their behavior as just part of the work, which explains why they themselves appear perfectly justified to engage in workplace bullying techniques such as gossip, the narcissistic smear campaign, for hours on company time and company pay, because it's part of the job. They feel obligated to protect themselves, and they may excuse what they do as protecting the company from a bad worker. Clinical psychologist and narcissism expert Dr. Ramani Durvasula, forgive me for constantly butchering her last name, has stated that if remorse is guilt, then narcissists do not feel so much guilt as shame. There's a difference between guilt and shame. One is personal and private, and one is public. Dr. Ramani states, shame is a public emotion. Shame is basically a public display of guilt. You can feel guilt alone by yourself. Shame is what narcissists feel when they are publicly exposed. To paraphrase Rihanna, you're only sorry you got caught. I have long maintained that the only way to stop workplace bullies is to publicly expose their words, actions, and behaviors, and that is one of the reasons I create this video series. I would love for targets of workplace bullying to share in the comments section their stories, present or past, exposing their workplace bullies. And the same is true for all narcissists. The only thing to stop narcissists from abusing people is public exposure. Additionally, narcissistic abuse recovery expert Melanie Tanya Evans makes a distinction between regret and remorse. One is very selfish and one is deeply empathetic. Completely lacking in empathy, narcissists cannot feel remorse, but they can feel regret. And what they regret, she states, is not finishing you off. In Spanish, the word is acabar, and in French, it's achever, verbs for putting down a beast, for slaughter. It wasn't enough to hurt you. What narcissists regret is not hurting you more. Workplace bullies as narcissists really did not expect for you to step onto the ballast of your authentic self. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and continue down the yellow brick road. When you go down, you're supposed to stay down. Another one of my theories about workplace bullying is that it is spiritual warfare happening on an energetic level. Because what workplace bullies, like narcissists, really and truly want is the complete and total annihilation and destruction of your soul. Because that's what happened to them when they were children. So that's an introduction to my theory that workplace bullies cannot feel remorse. To read more in detail, I've written an essay on workplace bullying. It's on my website. I include that information in the description. The reason that I create this video series is to establish a forum where targets of workplace bullying can share their stories and experiences in a kind of support group. So you can know, number one, you're not crazy. Workplace bullying is real and your feelings are perfectly valid and justified. And number two, you're not alone. Unfortunately, countless others have experienced the same thing. So I look forward to reading your comments and I promise to try to respond to each one. Take care.